this huge space where it's obviously competitive. But it's obvious like you're not a starting quarterback that just retired. But you guys do have leverage. You do have a lot of plays, and your name does carry itself.
I was thinking about a whole lot to answer that question. That's why you boy pausing right now. But it was, for me, it was like, when you look at social media, it really took a different approach. They took a different approach, starting around 15, 16, as far as getting video content and giving you time to express yourself. It all started out 30 seconds, then it went to a minute. So I think that right there alone really helped us kind of bridge the gap when we got into it to go out. You're going to have your own followers anyway, but to really spread the message of understanding like how to be able to use social media from that aspect, because before that, you really didn't have an outlet. You had to rely on somebody else to share your story.
What up?
But once they kind of, social media took that turn towards that.
How you doing this morning, brother?
Really kind of gave us the highway to on our way to heaven, I would like to say.
Okay. I've heard that song quite a bit.
Yeah, I think also we, for me, we both had a broadcast background. So we went to broadcast boot camp. Also broadcasting covered college football, I should say. Got our MBAs, and Takeo had his book Behind the Mask. So when he had his book, we did a tour in Atlanta, went to New York, and what we realized is that for us, for athletes, we use a mask for protection, right? But in everyday walk, people have masks. You have your mask up, you have your guard up.
Yeah.
Right? Until there's a commonality or you feel comfortable enough to pull that mask down. So we walk in the room and I don't know you, you're probably not going to talk off top. But if you're like, oh, this is my guy, this is my man right here, you're like, oh, cool. You let that guard down, you let that mask down. So we want to see who that person is.
Yeah.
The person that's cool enough to let you know who they really are behind the mask. We're regarded being former players as it is, and the fans don't know. The audience doesn't know. So for me, I think it was a great concept for Takeo. He had his book, and then 2019, the pandemic, prior to the pandemic, we were like, well, let's meet people where they're at. Podcast.
And you actually, we talked about it 2 years prior.
You shut me
And
down.
I was like, man, I'm not doing no podcast. At that time, I'm going to London to, hold it down Sky Sports.
Yeah.
And I'm staying over there. I'm like, you being compensated well.
Yeah.
So I'm like, start a podcast, man. You trying to break up my schedule throughout the year. So I kept doing research, kept hearing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, bruh, let's do it. So we did it. And then the world stopped.
Yeah.
With the pandemic.
Yeah.
And the thing about it that I appreciate is we no different in the game of football. You go up and down the adversity. We found a way to stay relevant throughout that time period, going back to 2015, 16, when I started seeing a shift in social media. So we utilize it, bro. And, that really helped connect.
So where do y'all normally meet at? Where do y'all hold the podcast?
In Atlanta.
In Atlanta, okay.
Yeah.
So we've had ours. Ours kind of started the same way. We've had, we're on our second season right now. We've had a slew of former players on the show. And we've traveled draft, combine, owners meetings, Super Bowl. Like, we've done it all. And I have my version of favorite guests I have. How long you guys have been doing yours? Who has been one of your favorite guests that you've had on the podcast? Say it. First name that comes to mind. Who's your first name?
All of them.
Okay. Oh, you sound like a parent now.
No, you know what? It's so hard to answer that because we don't just have football players or basketball players. Like, I immediately thought of, like, one person who I really appreciated because I did not know them was Layla Ali. And then to turn around and have a sit-down with Kerry Hilson, and we ain't talking about no sports at all, but we just chopping it up about life.
Yeah, she had a couple of great bangers back in the day.
Yeah, it's so
coming back too.
Yeah,
she's doing her thing.
Yeah, she's doing her thing, man. But the connections that we have, and I'm fascinated by learning. I love learning, and just to hear other people's, going through their adversity And it's no different than why I wrote the book Behind the Mask.
Yeah.
It was about some of the greatest linebackers that played the game, and I wanted to share their story of how did they become great, what made them an outlier. So when we talk about guests, I look at her, I look at Lawrence Taylor, to be able to bring him out of the shadows, and that was our podcast was the first one that he did.
Yeah.
And so for him to feel that way, I was like, wow. You know what I mean? So it's just a lot, man.
Yeah.
A lot that I take from it, from everybody.
Absolutely.
We had him the other day.
I think he's still
a bad
scary. Like,
He was,
Intimidating.
I agree.
Still.
I think he's the one NFL player. We walk around, you got gold jackets. Here at the Super Bowl, everybody's here.
Yeah.
And it's like, nobody for him.
Absolutely.
It's like,
Absolutely.
he is just known, like, probably not go. I ain't barking up that tree.
he won speed all day.
All day. Same thing when we had him on the show. And the funniest part about that, I think we had our audio engineer was micing him up. So you have the lapel mic, you gotta go through the shirt. But he was so nervous because it's Lawrence Taylor. He's sitting there shaking, and he's like, he just drops it in his lap. LT's like, y'all paying this guy? But the intimidation that he still has, even in the conversation, just speaks of his greatness, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because okay, he's an older guy now. You know what I mean? He's what 60-something, maybe.
Just turned 65.
Yeah, 65. And you're like, all right, if I had to, I probably could take him. If I had to, right? The other guy. But you're like, I'm not even gonna try.
Yeah.
LT.
Yeah.
None of that smoke.
None of that.
None of that.
Yeah,
So let me ask you this: when you wrote the book, what made you want to focus on linebackers? Why not quarterbacks, receivers, DBs, D linemen? Why linebackers?
Well, it's linebackers first because, like, that's what I know.
Yeah.
And and so it was like, from a business aspect, like, why not? I got all of the connections. I can reach out and touch damn near everybody.
Yeah.
So for me, I felt like I wanted people to see it through our lens, how we see the game and play the game. We consider ourselves the best athletes on the field.
What?
I'm sure you gentlemen are. I'm sure you're gonna disagree. You definitely better not say that.
the only person that says that.
Nobody else thinks that.
Because-
Nobody else thinks that.
Because we have to play the run, the pass.
Yeah.
So does everybody else on defense.
Yeah.
Why gotta be defense? I think it's offensive linemen. We never come off the field. You guys can sit there and tell.
Time out. DBs don't come off the field either.
Yeah, I do come on the field.
DBs and linebackers are the ones that don't come off
They
the
have
field.
line packages and nickel
Yeah,
packages.
that's more DBs.
That's yeah.
So you got a backer out there.
You by yourself on this one.
Nah, you talking about rushers.
Yeah, man. What you said? Because this guy here.
I like. First of all, I figured you would say that. Look, I've always been intrigued by the linebacker position, even going as far back as watching guys like Mike Singletary with the crazy eyes.
Yeah.
And so, it's for me. I would like to know this though, Tequila, because I've been told a couple of times I got a big neck. You know what I mean? You have a ginormous neck, all right? And I always also tell people, I was like, it's because my head is kind of skinny. Your head's kind of skinny too. And so like, are our necks really that much bigger? Or is it the head a little bit skinnier? And then also, I mean, the motivation behind it. Where comes the motive? Because I read this, I did a little research on it. I want to know if that part is true. They were like, why did you focus on trying to get a big neck?
You say you read about it, right?
I did.
The
People want to know. I don't know why did you want to focus on having a big neck?
But it
Seeing
wasn't even so much about having a big neck. Not majority of it.
Okay.
All right. Let's put it to bed right here.
Okay.
So my high school coach told me, he was like, look, hey man, you're working your neck muscles. That'll reduce the risk of you having concussions. And so I'm like, cool. So I'm doing neck exercise, putting a 45-pound plate on my head, leaning off the bench, bringing it here to my sternum. And that was an upright roll. Every day I'm doing that, bro. Every day. So I never had any, in my earlier years, like I never had no shoulder problems. Not even like head problems at that time. So for me, man, it was about protection, and then the other part of it too was I just feel like as a linebacker, you gotta have some type of look about it. Like I don't really respect linebacker. They come in with a skinny leg. I'm just telling you. Same way how you look at them receivers, you be like, oh, his dress code out.
Yeah.
Ain't no way you gonna catch a ball on me.
No gloves? Like, bro, he's
so trash. No swag.
Yeah, so like that's
Zero
why, bro.
swag.
Like I just I'm on fit the look. I'm gonna do that.
I like that.
I didn't know that, but
And for volume 2, we don't have defensive backs behind the mask.
Okay, I like that. Yeah. I'm gonna get my phone number. I'll be the first one.
I already got it.
Yeah. So here's something else that I think the three of us have in common. We all have master's degrees, and
Wow.
I didn't say any names.
Just I didn't say that school up north.
Okay, I just didn't say
state
any
of
names.
Alabama.
Yeah, I didn't say no names. But anyway, I want to know why y'all chose the University of Miami, and how does that university tailor their program toward athletes?
Fill in the gap for me. It's a lot on this story. We took advantage of, what we had, the NFL player benefits.
Yeah.
I actually went back to school and got my undergrad first because I heard about that was coming from him and another one of my best friends, Carlos Emmons. And they was talking about, hey man, we're going to get our masters and we can use the benefits to be able to pay for it. And so I'm like, man. And so that was the first time out of a lot of conversations we had, I felt like y'all think y'all better than me right now. Yeah. So I was like,
it ain't about the paper.
It ain't no.
Pure competition. Y'all better than me.
So then they just excluded me and kind of like turned their shoulder.
We're in the group text. We didn't sign up. Me and Carlos signed up. The kid was like hesitant. It was like, shit, we just gonna do it. So we signed up. Next thing you know, he's like, did I sign up? He's like, yeah. It's too late. So he got his paperwork in and stuff, and then he's like, y'all not gonna get one up on me? You know,
I wasn't gonna let him hold one up. I think it speaks volumes about who we are. When I say we, I don't just say us. Like all of us, we always need that competitive spirit and to be able to talk to each other and drive you. Because I had no intention of going back to school at all. And you know what, my mama, she was glad about it. And she was like, I just love them boys. Like, she used to try to tell me, like, well, you better take your black ass back to school. And I'm like, Mom, we gonna be rich. Yeah, but you still need to learn how to manage it. I said, well, I'll figure that out. But to be completely honest with you, one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
Just because it taught me a new way to think.
Mm-hmm.
It taught me to be able to respect other people's background and their thought process, to see what's important to them culturally. When you just see, man, we in the classroom with people from India, we had other athletes in there too as well. So it was just a diverse background, but to be able to listen and learn, that was cool for me.
And these people are smart people, and the way they think and the way you're presented, that you gotta look. When you're in a room with smart people, you're naturally going to get smarter because things are going to be said that like I didn't think about it. Yeah. And so, what was probably one of the more interesting?
Wait, time out. Before you ask that,
Yes.
I'm gonna go back and get my MBA. What's up? Let's do it right now.
No.
Let's do it. Competitive.
No.
Competitive. Let's do it.
I'm not that competitive.
Come on.
No.
Let's do it.
That's BS.
Let's come on, dude. That's cap. Come on.
I'm fine, man.
you fine?
I'm fine. I got an A club ring.
You know what? We all thought
That I don't have.
Yeah, you
the
did that.
sad thing, we felt like, went to college, it's cool, went to the NFL, obviously the top of the top 1% and all of that, but then it was like, when we all retire or we're all done playing ball, you still have that competitive, you need something to fuel that competitive edge, right? So this was that thing, and it was 15 some years later from when we played ball, but now, because Carlos, myself, and other athletes, we all win, we still had the camaraderie of the locker room. We still had brothers to lean on when we didn't understand a certain topic. I'm talking about 8-hour days, study hall.
Hey man,
You had to relearn how to learn.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You know what I'm saying? It was like scar tissue being broken.
This is gonna be my question. It was like, these is what I want to know.
Yeah.
The things that you thought has probably changed you or you didn't even understand was going to be. So relearning how to learn.
Relearning how to learn.
Like learning how to study again. Because I've studied a playbook.
Yeah.
I went from studying books to like a playbook, and now I'm trying to get all these things to now be ready to study for a test.
Sounds like so much fun. We got to do it.
It was fun though, and I think the coolest thing though is when you have to like present in front of your class.
Oh yeah.
Like as athletes, we cool with going out balling in front of 70,000 people, but you got to sit in front of a class of 50 people and talk. When I tell you them nerves be racking, Carlos was up there sweating.
Sweating bullets. We had a side. Hey, how many seconds you think before we start?
But it was dope, man. And again, you holding each other accountable, and no one was still above the other. You know what I'm saying? Because anyone that look on our LinkedIn and see it say Tucson Camarera's NBA and his not say that.
How long was the process?
It was a year and a half.
Year and a half, 2 years. It was in the
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years.
So it was in person or was it
Online.
both online?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So they catered it around the NFL season. So we would go during the off season in class.
Yeah.
Down to Miami, and then when the guys had mini camp, training camp, because there was still some active players there.
Yeah.
Torrey Smith, Carlos Carlac, some other guys.
Mike.
Yeah.
My boy Jari Evans went back.
Yeah.
Will got Jari to go back.
Yeah.
So I remember this very vividly. The thing I will talk about though is, brag on myself a little bit, is the Keo working with the SEC network. Did you talk about getting into that?
Wait, Tom, how did you get that job? Like that stuff's going on. How did you work? I knew you were SEC Network. I never heard of him.
Well, on his interview, he crushed it, but I was over there feeding him assists.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Really just, and I think I was able to share, and I've never done a show together. And it was just really cool to know him as a person, as a great player in the NFL for all these years. And now he's back talking college football, and he does a great job of that, but it's also really cool because it was man, I had this guy's back, and I love seeing him there, and I just wanted him to be more calm. And I think just having me there, it was just oh, okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that too, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
I was gonna acknowledge that because it's the little things in life, and so that was huge for me because that was the first time me coming up there. So I was like, you don't know who's gonna be interviewing you, and then when I saw you was coming and it was intentional, I was like, my boy, no, I treat everything like the national anthem just played, bro. Like I'm ready to go get it. You know what I'm saying? But nah, it really helped me though. And 2 years later now, we still rocking and rolling.
Yeah, man. How have you enjoyed doing live TV? Because I don't think people understand doing live TV versus
a little stress.
Recorded TV. How have you enjoyed that? What are some of the things that you that you didn't know before that you know now? And then maybe kind of talk about the show you do to Listen Lang on Wednesdays.
Yeah, so super dope. First year I did every game on Saturday. Mm-hmm. I can't look at the game and just say, oh man, Tennessee, they couldn't stop the run. It's so generic, watered down. And so that's what I had to learn how to do on live TV. But this is the kicker. You'd be like, oh, all right, that's easy. You can do that. You gotta be concise.
Yeah, that part.
And you got 10 games on at one time. And so, bro, we had to relearn how to learn again.
Yeah.
And so, but by mid-season, I really caught my stride. It went well.
Got the reps.
Man. It's all about getting the reps. That gave me more confidence. And every week I'm tweaking the schedule as far as timing and everything, trying to make sure I'm ready for Saturday. Year 2, which was this past year, live TV, I still do it, love it. I love having my own show. So they would, ESPN saw fit to it. Say, hey, you want the opportunity to have your own show? It will be called Out of Pocket. And I was like, well, not really my own show then, if you tell me what it is.
I didn't get to figure choose my name for my show.
That's all right. I guess that's what happened. But I was like, I'm down.
Yeah.
So get in, and it's a lifestyle reality. Not a reality, but a lifestyle athletic sports show. And myself, Alyssa Lang, love her to death. I knew she knew football just from looking at the network. But to sit down with her, she went into detail. I'm talking about like Mina Kimes, like
Yeah.
like I respect Mina Kimes, her analysis. So when I sat down beside Alyssa Lang, I was like, man, we hit it off.
Yeah.
And I actually did my first show with her. So that's what gave me a level of comfortability too as well. But we hit it off. It's almost the same as what we're doing here on Out of Pocket.
Yeah.
You know, we'll go back and look at the weeks and see what players probably got stiff armed or something. We make fun and light of it to where it's not a heavy football show. And then we have fun, we laugh, but then also we have certain segments to where, okay, now let's look at this 4th and 31 over here and see what happened at Auburn and why they gave that up. You know what I mean? So it's a good mixture, and for me, I thought it was a perfect balance for me. So as far as live TV and the show I have now, love it. Looking forward to doing it again.
What do you think about, or let me say it like this, what do you like about the podcast versus TV?
For me, when I did some broadcasting with covering college football as well. For me, I like the podcast because it's even more authentic, right? With our guests, with obviously myself and Takeo, you get the real interaction, right? So live TV, when he broadcast in the studio, just studio panel, obviously. In the game, when I covered college football, you like the game, but if I'm covering the game, and it's a blowout going on, you get bored. So when I was covering, remember, there was times we would text each other when he was broadcasting with back another network, and I was covering ball. Like, it's just boring, man. You know what I mean? As former athletes, we know good football.
Right.
If you see bad football, gotta get charged up. But for me, the podcast with your guests, you always charged up because there's always something. There's always a nugget. There's always now a clip that's gonna go viral. It's something that you're gonna find out from your guest that you're like, you know what? That's our touchdown. When he says it, in the back of our mind, we sitting there like, this is it. You know what I mean? We got gold. We got it. We got gold. And for me,
I
that's
like
what
that.
I
We
like.
got
So is my follow-up is that the most gratifying part of the podcast for you guys personally? Is like getting that clip and like, oh, that was it. Is that the most gratifying, or is it just letting people tell their story? Or
for me, it's letting people tell their story, right? Because you got guys like we had John Abraham on. People haven't heard from him for years.
Yeah.
Jamal Lewis, people haven't heard from him for years. LT, like Takeo said, Charles Barkley, Eric Dickerson, some of the legends, right? The most gratifying part is when the interview is over, the episode is over, and I'm like, you know what? I appreciated that. Because I never would have had this conversation with anybody else. But I felt like I was back in the locker room. It felt good. It felt natural. It didn't feel like an interview. Like any interview, it felt like I was chopping it up with my boys. And I'm like, yo, that's what it is. And we got guys that cry. Kerry Hilson cried. John cried. Hell, I cried.
He cried.
I cried. You know what I mean? So when you have that authentic, vulnerable space, but you still feel you find comfortability in being vulnerable amongst your peers, that's the most gratifying part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we're not going to take your story and spin it like some media just to get a clip. No.
Right.
We're going to tell a story like you want it told because you're the author of your own autobiography. It's your narrative. How you want it perceived, that's how it's going to be perceived. So that's
Rome literally cries every podcast.
I do. Well, because I cry when I laugh. So every
podcast he cries
all the time.
Vulnerability is not ladies. Every episode he cries. So I feel that. Yeah.
It's real. And, as we alpha males, man, you don't want to show your vulnerability all the time because it's perceived as weakness.
Yep.
Nah, it's real.
No, I saw the John Abraham podcast, and that was a powerful one.
It was real.
It was so real, and the whole suffering in silence. And I commend you too for giving him a safe space and pouring into him, and letting him pour into y'all with what he was going through at that time. Because when he said those things, it was just like, what? Did I just hear that right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time when he was playing, he was that dude in Atlanta. And then
I just remember them flamboyant tattoos. Not flamboyant, but like very bright tattoos. You could just see it from the sideline.
yeah, I just was I don't know, man. Y'all did a hell of a job on that interview with him.
What up,
so
bro?
I just want to say, that was a dope interview.
Didn't even have any idea it was gonna go that way. That's the other part I like about. I love live TV, but I also love the podcast probably a little more because it's the unexpected.
Yeah.
Like, we had to shut down shop, and because this dude, he was just hard headed. Hey man, I feel something. Like, feel a little tightness. And after like a couple of weeks, he was like, "Hey man, why don't you just go get checked out, bro?" Now what he did say was he had a limp. It was a lump.
Yeah.
Up in my groin.
Lump in his groin. We kept myself, Carlos Simmons. It got to a point. What, a year and a half later?
Yeah.
Yeah, a year. A little bit over a year. He went to the doctor, found out he had lymphoma, and like it was, it like totally. Can't curse on it, but y'all don't want me to curse. I was, when he called me, I was like, I couldn't even breathe, bro.
Yeah.
And I kept it together for him. And he actually knew when we came out here, well, not here, but at Super Bowl last year. I was like, "You sure you want to do this?" He was like, "Yeah. I got it." He was like, "I need to do it." Because it was time. I was like, "Man, we just don't have to do anything."
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the storytelling to John Abraham, to hear him share his story on why he came out and decided to do it, because there's a lot of people who thought he's still close to them, but they felt offended because he didn't tell anybody. Mm-hmm. He didn't want that emotional trauma to follow him. And so to be able to look at what we do totality-wise, that's what makes me love doing the podcast sector so much. Getting those stories and him just being a man about it and shedding light on it for all of us to know. So that, look, guys, man, I know we tough and I like to play dumb tough, and I'd say it all. But at the end of the day, you got to get checked. You can't pour from no empty cup. And if you ain't right, ain't nobody right.
True. Preaching quote right there.
I mean, Taquillo, man, he from the South, brother. So I'm Spikes ain't playing, man. Hey, girl. Spikes ain't playing.
Shamano Sky.
So I see, it feels like you guys have really found your lane in this whole podcast space. And it starts because you guys genuinely care about each other. Clearly, we can see that. And so as this thing continues to roll down that interstate highway, how do you continue to